When Chris Larangero was married to Angelina, he was on Jersey Shore family vacation all the time. But ever since they divorced and Chris stopped appearing on the show, he's pretty much completely disappeared from the public eye. So what exactly happened to him? The truth about what's really been going on with Chris is pretty bizarre, so let's get into it. Chris and Angelina's troubled and toxic marriage came to an end when Chris filed for divorce in January 2022. The divorce was finalized a few months later, but the exes still seemed to be at odds. And what Chris did next made their drama even messier. Last July, Chris went live on TikTok to spill some tea about the divorce. He claimed that even though Angelina never signed the divorce papers, the judge granted it anyway. But he also made an unexpected confession. Chris admitted to his followers that he still had difficult days. Apparently, it was a struggle for him to come to terms with his marriage ending. But what he revealed right after that honestly seemed kind of shady. Chris added that he was still much happier being single despite everything he left behind because of the divorce. He said that walking away from Angelina also meant giving up being on TV, making millions of dollars, and living in a mansion. Where he moved to after filing for divorce must have been an insane adjustment. After leaving the huge house he shared with Angelina, Chris ended up moving back into his mom's house. But the ex-couple was still taking subtle jabs at each other on social media. So when Chris stopped posting on Instagram for the last half of 2022, it seemed like a smart decision. But when Chris stopped sharing updates on Instagram, he started posting even more ridiculous content on his TikTok. The majority of his videos were copying trends or throwing shade at Angelina somehow. But at the end of last year, he seemed to have an astonishing change of heart. Over the last several months, Chris seemed to have healed a little more and started to move on. He hasn't been sneaking as many rude remarks about Angela or their divorce into his posts. It looks like he's finally shifted his focus to a hobby that's far less problematic. Chris has also talked about hitting the gym, but now he seems to be taking his workouts to a whole new level. It's hard to tell if he's still living with his mom or not because many of his social media updates are either funny videos or about his fitness progress. Chris's hard work and dedication have obviously paid off. He looks healthier and happier than he has in a long time. Lately, his physical transformation seems to have taken a seriously crazy turn. Chris appears to be extremely toned in a recent Instagram photo. His muscle gains definitely haven't gone unnoticed by his followers. But instead of just complimenting Chris on his progress, some people have been making super snarky references in their comments. Under one of Chris's newest mirror selfies from the gym, one of his followers made a weird remark about Angelina out of nowhere. They wrote that she's probably so mad now that Chris is looking incredibly fit. But how Chris replied to the dig of his ex-wife was truly unbelievable. He surprisingly showed real growth in his response. He claimed that there was no reason for Angelina to be upset about his appearance because they were both happy in their own lives. That seemed pretty clear in January when Angelina made a shocking revelation. In an interview with Us Weekly, Angelina admitted that she and Chris had started speaking to each other occasionally, but at that moment, their conversations sounded simple and civil. It turns out that Chris had just made a very sentimental gesture a few weeks earlier. Angelina shared that Chris had unexpectedly sent Christmas presents in the mail for her cats and dog. When she reached out to him about the gifts, he claimed that he would always view her animals as his pets too. But as nice as that was, it might have also been confusing and bittersweet. Angelina seemed to be in her feelings about not being closer with Chris. She confessed that it was hard to go from knowing him for a total of 16 years to not having him in her life anymore. But that wasn't all. In the same interview, Angelina continued to seriously open up about her feelings. She said that she wished they'd been able to be friends with each other after they divorced. Whether or not she meant this as a hint, that's how Chris apparently saw it. What he revealed earlier this summer was absolutely unreal. Over the last few months, Chris has been dragged by many of his followers. They accused him of trashing Angelina in his videos that are meant to be funny. But in reality, his sense of humor may just be more on the controversial side. Chris might have poor taste in jokes at times, but he supposedly hasn't tried to involve Angelina in them lately. His followers usually make harsh comments anyway because they seem to think his posts are still about her. So when Angelina was sent a screenshot of Chris's followers slamming her in his comment section, she did not hold back. Angelina shared the screenshot she had received along with a pointed caption. She wrote that she was praying for Chris because she felt like he had been making embarrassing posts for way too long. But not long after she put Chris on blast, he set the record straight. Chris wanted to clear the air involving his post where he had joked about his dating life. Supposedly, they weren't about Angelina at all. He posted a long message on his Instagram story that stated he had no negative feelings at all toward her. But how he ended the message was honestly insane. Chris explained that he was completely happy for Angelina Angelina. He genuinely wished her the best for her future, even including her engagement to Vinny Tortorella. But what's really crazy is that Chris said that he and Angelina had been talking to each other pretty frequently. Even though Chris and Angelina had come a long way since their bitter breakup, the chances of them ever rekindling their romance are slim to none. After all, Angelina has moved on, although her engagement seems chaotic at the moment. Based on Chris's latest social media post, he's most likely still single. He recently joked about waiting for his Instagram crush to notice him, but around the same time he also shared a video about how he wasn't even interested in anyone. Maybe he's planning on keeping his next relationship private. It looks like Chris has been staying really busy despite not being in a relationship right now. He's still working at the same sanitation job that he's had for a while, and of course he's also been spending a lot of time in the gym and going out on the town with his friends. In July, Chris turned 46 years old, and he celebrated by spending his birthday with his family. He must be incredibly close to most, if not all, of his family members. He decided to go to the NBA draft in New York City, and he also brought his nephew to the event. Chris has also apparently been on a few shopping sprees this summer, judging from his Instagram post. He recently added a couple of pairs of Yeezys to his sneaker collection, but not all of his extra money goes towards shoes. What he's been doing to help others is truly impressive. Chris occasionally shares random people's fundraisers to his social media to help them get more donations. Most recently, he's posted GoFundMes that have organized to help cover vet bills and other expenses for pets in need of medical care. Chris still hasn't stopped making slightly cringeworthy attempts to create funny TikToks. Most of them are still about his seemingly non-existent dating life and what it's like being divorced, but at least he's not lashing out and speaking negatively about Angelina anymore. Chris definitely handled his feelings about divorcing Angelina in an immature way for a while. Now he's finally in a much healthier place in his life. He appears to have moved on from dwelling on the divorce, but only time will tell if he's ready to move on romantically. Now that we've gotten into everything that Chris has been up to since he and Angelina divorced, I want to know your thoughts. Are you surprised that they've been speaking to each other pretty often, especially after the divorce drama? Do you think it's a good sign that they've been communicating more, or will it only complicate things for Angelina's new relationship? Let me know in the comments below.